DHK, the World News Tonight with Matt Waldron.
Good evening, I'm Matt Waldron. Here are the headlines. Hillary Clinton says Iran must discuss nuclear issue. Japanese Parliament elects new Prime Minister. UN investigator says Israel and Hamas might have committed war crimes. And the Indonesia flash floods kill 38 people. For our main story, the US Secretary of State Hillary Clinton has said Iran must answer head-on concerns about its nuclear program at talks with world powers on October 1st. Mrs. Clinton said the issue cannot be ignored and was the key reason why the US agreed to take part in the talks. Tehran last week offered comprehensive talks but did not mention its nuclear program. The West fears that Iran is secretly developing nuclear weapons, a claim denied by Tehran. Iran insists its program is for civilian purposes only. We have made clear to the Iranians that any talks we participate in must address the nuclear issue head-on, Mrs. Clinton said in Washington. She said the talks were a fulfillment of President Barack Obama's pledge. Iran says it has a number of issues it wishes to discuss with us, but what we are concerned about is discussing with them the questions surrounding their nuclear program and ambitions, she said. We will wait to see how Iran responds in that face-to-face venue, America's top diplomat said. Japan's parliament has elected former opposition leader Yukio Hatoyama as Prime Minister, following his party's landslide election victory last month. Mr. Hatoyama, left-of-centre party, controls 308 of the 480 seats in Parliament's lower chamber, which selects the Prime Minister. Prime Minister Taro Aso and his cabinet resigned earlier in the day to pave the way for the new government. The selection of Mr. Hatoyama has ended more than 50 years of nearly unbroken rule by Mr. Aso's Conservative Liberal Democratic Party. Mr. Hatoyama has promised to shake up Japan's political system, cutting government waste, reinvigorating the world's second-largest economy, and focusing policies on consumers, not big business. I am excited by the prospect of changing history, Mr. Hatoyama said before the vote in Parliament. I also feel the weight of the responsibility of making history. His first task will be to name a cabinet. Media reports said he had already chosen Katsuya Okada as his foreign minister and Hirohisa Fuji as his finance minister. The UN's head of political affairs, Lynn Pascoe, is to meet Sri Lankan government officials for urgent talks on the thousands of Tamils still detained in camps 4 months after the end of the civil war. Mr. Pascoe said he was very concerned about slow progress on letting the refugees return home. He said he'd also raised the issue of the treatment of UN staff in Sri Lanka. A spokesman for the Children's Fund has had his visa revoked, and 2 local UN staff have been detained. Several mortars or rockets have been fired at Baghdad's fortified Green Zone government district shortly after US Vice President Joe Biden flew in...
Joe Biden.
Okay.
That's the... Yeah, so just say...
Go from the start of this one?
Yeah.
Several mortars or rockets have been fired at Baghdad's fortified Green Zone government district shortly after US Vice President Joe Biden flew in to keep up US pressure on Iraq's leaders to reach political compromises. Iraqi police said 2 suspected mortar rounds landed near the sprawling US embassy compound in the Green Zone but did not hit it. Biden had met with the US ambassador, Chris Hill, and the top US military commander, General Ray Odierno, just before the mortar strikes. Mr. Biden's second visit to Iraq in 3 months signalled that the Obama administration is anxious to resolve long-standing disputes between Kurdish, Shiite and Sunni Arab communities over land and oil. There is evidence that both the Israeli army and Palestinian militants committed war crimes and possibly crimes against humanity during the recent conflict over the Gaza Strip, the United Nations has said. The mission concluded that actions amounting to war crimes and possibly in some respects crimes against humanity were committed by the Israel Defense Force, UN investigator Richard Goldstone said. A summary of his nearly 600-page report on the fact-finding mission's conclusions also said the firing of rockets into Israel by Palestinian militants where there were no military targets would also constitute war crimes and possibly crimes against humanity. The Iraqi journalist who threw his shoes at former President George W. Bush has been released after 9 months in prison, and he said Iraqi security forces tortured him with beatings, whippings and electric shocks after his arrest. Muntada al-Zaidi, whose stunning act of protest last December made him a hero around the Arab and Muslim worlds, said he now feared for his life and believed that US intelligence agents would chase after him. The 30-year-old reporter's act of protest deeply embarrassed Iraq's Prime Minister, Nouri al-Maliki, who was standing beside Bush at a news conference when al-Zaidi suddenly shot up from his chair and hurled his shoes toward the podium. At least 38 people have been killed in flash floods in a remote region of Indonesia's North Sumatra province. A spokesman for the provincial government said the flood hit the coastal district of Mandaling Natal, 275 kilometres southwest of the provincial capital, Medan. Powerful waters unleashed after the Sulang Aling River overflowed, uprooted trees and smashed through houses in 6 villages. That's all for now. Good night.
That's all for now. The late news is at 10:30. Good night.
Sorry, I was thinking there must be something else. What if I reread this bit and do that bit?
Okay. That's all for now. That's all for now. Update. We have updates. Sorry. Updates
Sorry.
throughout the evening. Throughout the evening. The late news. Sorry.
It's alright.
Evening. Late news is at 10:30. Good night.
Okay.
With Jeremy Long.
So I'll read from at least 38 people?
Yeah.
At least 38 people have been killed in flash floods in a remote region of Indonesia's North Sumatra province. A spokesman for the provincial government said the flood hit the coastal district of Mandaling Natal, 275 kilometres southwest of the provincial capital, Medan. Powerful waters unleashed after the Sulang Aling River overflowed, uprooted trees and smashed through houses in 6 villages. That's all for now. We have updates throughout the evening. The late news is at 10:30. Good night.